12 Stoic Lessons That Will Change How You See Life. By Sculpted Grace. Introduction. Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop being easy to control, people begin to act differently? At first, they may have praised your kindness or admired your willingness to bend. But when you decide to stand tall, draw clear boundaries, and refuse to play along with manipulation, suddenly the smiles turn to whispers. The same people who once complimented you begin to criticize you, twist your words, or spread rumors behind your back. It feels confusing at first. You wonder, did I do something wrong? But what if I told you this reaction is not about you being wrong, it's about you being free? You see, people who thrive on control are uncomfortable around independence. If they can't predict you, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, they often resort to subtle games, guilt-tripping, isolation, or even lies. It's not because you've failed, it's because you've broken free. And here's where Stoic philosophy steps in. The Stoics, from Marcus Aurelius to Seneca, taught that true power isn't found in controlling others. It's found in mastering yourself, in refusing to be ruled by fear, anger, or manipulation. But the real question is, are you truly free, or are you still reacting to other people's tricks without even realizing it? To help us see this clearly, let's begin with a short story. Imagine a man named Adam. He walked his own path and refused to let others dictate his choices. At work, his boss's intimidation never swayed him. With friends, he didn't fall into games of guilt or flattery. Even in family, he held his ground with boundaries that others found uncomfortable. At first, he thought this would earn respect, but instead, it triggered criticism. Friends called him selfish. Colleagues whispered behind his back. Even loved ones labeled him difficult. Confused, Adam turned to an old mentor, Mr. Carter, for guidance. Mr. Carter showed him two horses in his yard, one tied to a post, the other roaming free. The tied horse stood calm because it was restrained. The free horse stepped back, cautious, because it couldn't be controlled. People are the same, Mr. Carter said. When they can tie you down, they feel secure. But when you are free, they feel threatened. And instead of freeing themselves, they'll try to break you. That night, Adam realized people weren't turning against him because he was wrong. They were resisting him because they couldn't control him. From then on, he stopped seeking approval, stopped explaining himself, and stopped bending to guilt. And something powerful happened. Manipulators faded away, weak minds drifted off, but the strong stayed, because real strength always respects strength. That's what Stoicism offers us, a way to stand free, clear, and strong in a world full of hidden chains. So let's break this down into 12 Stoic lessons, practical rules you can use to resist manipulation, stay calm under pressure, and live with unshakable inner strength. And stay until the end, because the last lesson is the most life-changing of all. Lesson 1: They try to manipulate you. When people realize they can't control you directly, they often shift tactics. Instead of giving up, they reach for the oldest trick in the book: manipulation. This doesn't always come with open threats or commands. More often, it's subtle. It looks like guilt: after everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me. It looks like flattery: you're amazing at this, I don't know what I'd do without you. It looks like urgency: if you don't help me right now, everything will fall apart. These tactics are designed to bypass your reasoning and pull on your emotions. Because if they can't control your actions openly, they'll try to sway your feelings instead. The Stoics remind us that the real battlefield is inside our minds. Lao Tzu once said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. They want you flustered, guilty, or afraid, because that's when you're easiest to push around. The key is self-mastery. Think of it like a chess game: they move their piece expecting you to panic, to counter without thinking. But what happens if you don't move? If you calmly observe, recognize the tactic, and refuse to play along? Suddenly, the game is over before it even begins. I once dealt with someone who twisted every situation to their advantage. One day they tried the guilt line: "Wow, I thought we were closer than that." For a moment, I felt that tug of guilt, but then I smiled and simply said, "I know what you're doing." And just like that, the spell broke. They never tried again. So how do you deal with manipulation? First, recognize the tactic, pause and ask yourself, is this a genuine request, or am I being pushed emotionally? Second, remain calm and neutral. The less emotional fuel you give them, the weaker their grip becomes. And finally, refuse to play. You don't need to defend yourself or explain endlessly. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply no. When you master your emotions, you remove the strings manipulators pull. And that's the first step to becoming truly free. Lesson 2: They spread lies about you. When someone can't control you, one of the lowest tactics they resort to is spreading lies. Instead of confronting you directly, they twist the truth, create rumors, and attempt to damage your reputation. Why? Because if they can't bend your will, they'll try to weaken how others see you. They want you to panic, to rush around defending yourself, to waste your energy trying to correct their false narratives. It's not about truth, it's about control. Imagine someone throwing mud at you. If you frantically fight back, you only end up dirtier. But if you stand still, let the mud dry, and calmly brush it off, you remain clean while the attacker looks foolish. This is where Stoic wisdom shines. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are unaffected by what is said, you have already won." Lies lose their power when you stop feeding them with attention. I once had someone deliberately spread a false story about me, hoping to turn colleagues against me. At first, I wanted to defend myself, to explain every detail. But instead, I stayed silent and let my actions speak louder. Over time, people noticed the inconsistency. The truth revealed itself and the liar's credibility crumbled. That's the nature of lies, they burn bright for a moment, but they can't sustain themselves. So when others try to damage your reputation, remember this: your character is your shield. Lies are only effective when you grant them power. Stand tall, remain consistent, and trust that time will separate the false from the true. Lesson 3: They play the victim. Another manipulative tactic you'll encounter is when people play the victim. When they can't control you directly, they flip the script. They make themselves look helpless, wounded, and misunderstood, all while painting you as the villain. Why? Because victimhood draws sympathy. It shifts the spotlight, turning others against you without them having to take responsibility for their own actions. Suddenly, you're left defending yourself against an emotional performance worthy of an award. And the more you argue, the more guilty you look, because you've stepped onto their stage. The Stoics taught us not to hand over our emotions to others so easily. Epictetus said, "A wise man does not allow others to dictate his emotions." This is critical, because people who fake victimhood thrive on your reaction. I once had someone who crossed my boundaries repeatedly. When I finally confronted them, they acted shocked and rushed to others claiming I had mistreated them. At first, I was furious. I wanted to prove my side. But then I stopped. I let my actions, not my words, reveal the truth. In time, their pattern became clear, and others saw through it. That's the lesson here: truth has a way of surfacing. When someone plays the victim, don't get trapped in their theater. Don't explain, don't overdefend. Stay calm, hold your ground, and let their own behavior expose them. In the end, reality always unmasks false victims, and your composure ensures they never succeed in pulling you down with them. Lesson 4: They try to isolate you. When people realize they can't control you directly, they often turn to a darker strategy: isolation. Instead of confronting you openly, they work behind the scenes, planting seeds of doubt, twisting your words, and slowly turning others against you. Their goal is simple: if they can cut you off from your support system, you'll be easier to influence. Just like predators in the wild isolate prey from the herd before striking, manipulators isolate you from your allies to weaken your defenses. This tactic is calculated, and if you don't recognize it, you may start doubting yourself and feeling like you're truly alone. Stoic wisdom offers a clear answer to this: choose your company wisely. Seneca advised, "Associate only with those who improve you, and welcome those whom you yourself can improve." I once worked with someone who subtly tried to undermine my friendships. At first, it was small comments like, "Are you sure that person really has your back?" Then it grew into exaggerations of things I supposedly said, creating tension between me and others. I was tempted to confront them directly, but instead, I focused on strengthening the relationships that mattered most. Over time, the people who truly knew me saw through the lies. Those who drifted away revealed they were never meant to stay in my life. That's the power of consistency: your character will outlast their manipulations. The lesson? Don't waste energy chasing those who are swayed by rumors. Nurture the connections that are built on trust, and let time reveal who truly belongs by your side. Lesson 5, they challenge your confidence. One of the most subtle yet damaging tactics people use is questioning your confidence. They won't outright attack you, but they'll plant seeds of doubt. They'll make you second-guess your choices, question your abilities, and hesitate before making decisions. The moment you start doubting yourself, they regain influence over you because now you're looking to them for reassurance. This isn't about offering constructive criticism. It's about undermining your self-trust so you become dependent on their approval. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoic lesson here is simple: your confidence must come from within, not from external validation. I once knew someone who questioned nearly every choice I made. If I decided to take on a new project, they'd say, "Are you sure you can handle that?" If I shared a goal, they'd respond with, "That sounds risky, don't you think?" At first, I defended myself and explained my reasoning. But then I realized I was playing into their game. They weren't questioning me because they had better insight, they were questioning me to make me doubt myself. So I changed my approach. Instead of defending, I simply replied, "Yes, I'm sure." That was it. No explanation, no debate. And suddenly, they had nothing left to challenge. True confidence doesn't argue, it simply stands firm. The lesson here is clear: trust yourself. If you've thought carefully and made a decision, don't let someone else's doubt override your judgment. Confidence is your shield, protect it fiercely, because without it, you become vulnerable to manipulation. Lesson 6, they provoke you emotionally. When people realize they can't control you through reasoning or subtle manipulation, they often fall back on one of the oldest tricks in the book: provoking your emotions. They deliberately push your buttons, insulting you, mocking you, or twisting your words, not because they care about the issue at hand, but because they want you to lose control. Once you explode in anger or frustration, they can step back and say, "See? I told you they were unreasonable." Suddenly, you become the villain, and they play the victim. This tactic is designed to make you abandon logic, step into chaos, and hand over your power in an emotional outburst. The Stoics saw this danger clearly. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This means the strongest response to provocation is composure. I remember a colleague who constantly baited me during discussions. He'd raise his voice, throw out personal jabs, and try to get me flustered in front of others. I could feel my anger rising each time, but then I tried a different approach. Instead of snapping back, I simply replied, "Interesting perspective," and moved on. The reaction stunned him. Without my emotional explosion, he had no fuel to keep the fire going. That's the power of restraint. When you refuse to play their game, they lose every advantage. The lesson? Protect your emotions as fiercely as you would your home. If someone is trying to provoke you, step back, breathe, and refuse to give them the reaction they crave. Your calmness is not weakness, it's unshakable strength. Lesson 7, they copy you. When control fails, some people take a different approach, imitation. Instead of competing with you directly, they start copying you, your ideas, your style, even your words. At first, it may seem flattering or even coincidental. But over time, you realize they're not just inspired by you, they're trying to become you. This is their way of staying close to your success without doing the hard work themselves. But here's the truth, imitation is always a step behind. No matter how closely a shadow follows the sun, it can never produce its own light. Seneca once said, "Character, not imitation, defines a person." That's the key here. What makes you powerful isn't just what you do, but who you are. I once knew someone who mirrored nearly everything I did. If I pursued a new goal, they'd suddenly discover the same ambition. If I adopted a new strategy, they'd replicate it step for step. At first, it felt infuriating, like my individuality was being stolen. But then I realized something important: the more they copied, the more obvious it became that they had nothing original of their own. One day, I changed direction completely, and they stumbled because without me to imitate, they were lost. That's when I understood the truth: being copied isn't a threat, it's proof that you're ahead. The lesson? Don't waste energy worrying about imitators. Keep evolving, keep creating, and let them struggle to keep up. Originality shines where imitation fades, and no one can replicate the unique spark that makes you, you. Lesson 8, they wait for you to fail. Not everyone who smiles at your success is genuinely happy for you. Some people nod politely, clap when you rise, but deep down, they're keeping score, waiting for the moment you stumble. Why? Because your success reminds them of their own stagnation. If they can't control you, they secretly hope life will humble you instead. And when you hit a setback, as everyone does, they're the first to whisper, "I knew it wouldn't last." This isn't about your failure, it's about their insecurity. They can't celebrate your victories because they feel diminished by them. The Stoics remind us to keep our focus inward. Epictetus said, "Do not waste your energy on those who hope for your downfall." I once had a colleague who seemed supportive on the surface but always slipped in backhanded comments. "I hope this works for you, though it's pretty risky." When I faced inevitable challenges, he pounced with, "See, I told you." At first, I wanted to prove him wrong, to throw my successes in his face. But then I realized that would give him power, it would mean I was living for his approval. So instead, I focused solely on my work, my growth, my goals. Over time, success spoke louder than his doubts. That's the lesson: don't let people waiting for your failure become your motivation. Rise not to silence them, but to fulfill your own potential. Their disappointment in your success is their burden, not yours. Lesson 9, they compete with you in silence. Another subtle tactic people use when they can't control you is silent competition. They won't admit they see you as a rival, but you'll notice the signs. If you achieve something, they rush to outdo it. If you share an idea, they scramble to present one of their own. They watch your progress not to celebrate it, but to measure themselves against it. This isn't healthy competition, it's insecurity disguised as ambition. And the danger is that if you're not careful, you'll get dragged into their unspoken rivalry, wasting your energy on battles you never wanted to fight. Marcus Aurelius taught, the best way to avenge yourself is to not be like your enemy. I once noticed a peer who seemed oddly reactive to everything I did. If I completed a project early, suddenly they had to finish theirs faster. If I learned a new skill, they would announce they were learning it too. At first, I felt pressured to keep outperforming them, but then I realized I was getting pulled into their silent contest. So I stepped back and refocused on my own goals. I reminded myself, I am not here to win against them, I am here to master myself. That shift freed me from their shadow. The Stoic lesson here is simple: don't live by someone else's scoreboard. Silent competitors will always exist, but their rivalry is with themselves, not with you. Stay on your path, keep your focus inward, and let your progress speak for itself. Lesson 10, they use guilt as a weapon. When direct manipulation fails, many people turn to guilt. They remind you of favors they've done, sacrifices they've made, or opportunities you owe them. They'll say things like, after everything I've done for you, or if you really cared, you'd do this for me. The goal isn't gratitude, it's control. By making you feel indebted, they hope to bend your will. Guilt is a powerful lever because it doesn't just attack your actions, it attacks your conscience. And once your conscience is compromised, they can push you in directions you'd never choose on your own. The Stoics taught us to separate obligation from manipulation. Seneca said, "No man can be indebted to another for a noble act, for virtue is its own reward." True kindness never demands repayment. I once had a mentor who offered me valuable advice but later tried to leverage it, saying, "Remember, I helped you back then, so you should support me now." At first, I felt torn. Part of me wanted to honor that debt. But then I realized real generosity doesn't come with strings attached. So I thanked him sincerely for the help, but I made my decision independently. Over time, I learned this truth: if someone uses guilt as a weapon, they never gave freely in the first place. The Stoic response: express gratitude, but stand firm. You owe nothing but your integrity. Lesson 11, they twist your words. Another tactic used by those who can't control you is twisting your words. They'll take something you said out of context, exaggerate it, or reinterpret it to suit their agenda. Before you know it, your words are being used against you in conversations you weren't even part of. This technique is insidious because it creates confusion, sows distrust, and forces you to defend yourself against arguments you never made. It's not just about miscommunication, it's about power. By distorting your words, they try to shape how others see you. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it, if it is not true, do not say it. That wisdom cuts both ways. If you speak with clarity and integrity, lies will eventually collapse under their own weight. I remember being in a situation where a colleague misquoted me to make it seem like I opposed a team decision. Instead of panicking, I calmly restated exactly what I had said and stood by it without defensiveness. Over time, the truth surfaced because my words and actions consistently matched. The Stoic lesson here is vital: speak plainly, speak honestly, and trust time to reveal distortions. People may twist your words in the short term, but in the long term, clarity and integrity are unbreakable shields. Lesson 12. They try to control how others see you. When all else fails, manipulators often resort to shaping your reputation. They spread rumors, drop subtle comments, or paint you in a negative light behind closed doors. They know that if they can't control you directly, they might control how others perceive you. This tactic is powerful because reputation influences relationships, opportunities, and trust. But here's the key: reputation can be attacked, but character cannot. People can distort your image temporarily, but they cannot change who you truly are. Epictetus gave timeless advice: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. What he meant is simple: you must care more about your integrity than about appearances. I once had someone deliberately misrepresent my intentions to others, making me seem arrogant. At first, I wanted to defend myself to everyone, to clear the lies immediately. But then I remembered the Stoic principle: let time and consistency reveal the truth. So I kept living and working with integrity. Over time, the false image faded, and my true character stood firm. That's the Stoic shield: no matter how others try to paint you, your actions will outlast their words. The lesson? Focus on being virtuous, not on being liked. Your reputation may fluctuate, but your character is yours alone to shape. Closing, the Stoic shield. Life is full of people who will try to manipulate, provoke, or undermine you. Some will use guilt, others will twist your words, and others still will wait silently for your failure. But here's the truth: their tactics only work if you give them power. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all taught that the ultimate freedom lies within your own mind. You cannot control what others do, but you can always control your response. So the next time someone tries to shake your confidence, provoke your anger, or distort your image, remember this: their power ends where your self-mastery begins. Stay calm, stay grounded, and let your actions, not their manipulations, define you. Because at the end of the day, True strength isn't about controlling others, it's about refusing to let others control you. This is the essence of Stoicism. This is the shield you carry. And this is the path to becoming untouchable. You've been watching Sculpted Grace, where we uncover timeless lessons for unshakable strength. If these Stoic insights resonated with you, remember, philosophy isn't just for reading, it's for living. So go live it.